Hey everyone. This week we are starting Module 2 for ELA, and we're going to be writing a narrative essay, which I'm super excited about. So in Module 1, we were focused on informative paragraphs, where we had a prompt and we had to answer a question and use evidence from the text to do that. And so you guys did a great job with that. And now we're moving on to Module 2. And in Module 2, we're going to go through the whole writing process. And at the end of the module, you'll turn in your final draft of your narrative essay. And so I'm going to show you today what your first assignment will be in 2.1, which is going to be the brainstorm. And the prompt for this narrative essay is write a narrative essay about a character who goes exploring and discovers a new land. I'll read that again. Write a narrative essay about a character who goes exploring and discovers a new land. I know you guys have, I think you wrote narrative essays before, but just a reminder, a narrative essay is essentially a story. So I'm actually going to share an example with you guys from Carolina. She wrote a narrative essay to this prompt, and I'm going to read that to you guys. So this is Carolina's narrative about Eduardo the Explorer. So I'm going to read you this, and this is an example of her narrative essay so that you can start getting ideas of what you want to read about. Here it goes. The ocean looks calm and tranquil from the lighthouse. The sun is shining with only a few clouds in sight. Eduardo the Explorer sits alone at the top of the lighthouse reading a book. While he reads Navigation in the Age of Exploration, his parrot, Blueberry, snoozes on his shoulder. A warm breeze grazes Eduardo's face with a salty scent. Hey, Blueberry, what do you say we set sail for an adventure? The weather looks perfect. Squawk, off we go! Eduardo and Blueberry head down to the boat, carrying a map, a compass, and Eduardo's book. As Eduardo helps Blueberry into the boat, the compass flies from his grip. It breaks the water surface with a plop and sinks into the ocean. Eduardo boards the boat anyway and sets off to find a new land that he has never explored before. There is nothing in sight, but the water looks infinite still and glistening, so he begins his adventure. Looking down at his map, Eduardo finds the name of an island that he has never heard of before. This would make the perfect exploration destination. Won't you need a compass? Asked Blueberry. Even though I lost it, it's fine. I can still see the shore and I know that it's to the west. As time goes by, Eduardo starts yawning. Then his eyelids begin to flutter. He slouches in his chair and struggles to keep his head up. The map shows that it will take quite a long time to get to the island, so Eduardo allows the small waves to rock him to sleep. Suddenly Blueberry's squawking wakes him from his slumber. Oh no! How long was I asleep for? Shouts Eduardo. Long enough to lose sight of the island. This is a disaster. I have no idea where we are, and I don't even have my compass. Eduardo scrambles to find anything that could possibly help him on the boat. His map is no good, without any way to tell which direction he's facing. Eduardo's search of the boat produces some old navigation tools. Luckily, Eduardo brought navigation in the Age of Exploration with him. Blueberry! I know what these tools are. I was just reading about them earlier. That's great, Eduardo. Do we have any of the tools from the book? We sure do. Check this out. Eduardo holds up a familiar-looking, dusty object. He opens his book to find that the object in his hand matches the picture and description of a backstaff. Navigation in the Age of Exploration tells Eduardo that the backstaff can be used to find latitude. He faces away from the sun, raises the backstaff to his eye, and measures the angle between the horizon and the sun. After finding the latitude of his boat and marking it on the map, Eduardo has a better idea of where he is. Now he has a decision to make. Should he return home or continue exploring? Eduardo and Blueberry are about halfway to the island. With Eduardo unsure of what to do, Blueberry comes up with a brilliant idea. He volunteers to fly ahead of the boat in the direction of the island. What a generous thing to do, Blueberry. You can see ahead of me and I'll follow you. That's great. Just make sure you stay awake this time. With his eyes wide open, Eduardo the Explorer follows the flight path of Blueberry. Eduardo feels the wind in his hair and hears the crashing waves against the side of the boat and has a smile on his face. This trip is turning out to be a real adventure. So that narrative was written by Carolina, and it was written with her main character who was Eduardo the Explorer. So if we go into Buzz, we see Carolina's narrative, and you guys can watch this video. So I'm actually now in Buzz in 2.1 where it talks about your narrative writing and things. So for the narrative, to prepare for a narrative essay, there's lots of steps. And down here it talks about the steps for the narrative essay. And so the first step here is brainstorming. This is when you think of different ideas in response to the writing prompt. That's your assignment for this week for 2.1 is your brainstorm. You'll have the quiz that you'll need to complete and the brainstorm turned in this week for 2.1. So again, the brainstorm, this is when you think of different ideas in response to the writing prompt. That's what we'll do. Well, we're also going to start planning and writing. And then the next week we'll do revising, editing, and publishing. So it's going to take us about 2 weeks to write this narrative essay. And we're going to start with these first 3 steps this week. And specifically right now in 2.1, we're doing our brainstorming. So if we go to this next page, we'll see first a brainstorm burst. Brainstorming is the first step in the writing process. It is a crucial step that cannot be skipped. Before you can brainstorm, you need to know the topic or prompt. This is your writing prompt for the narrative you will write. Take a minute to write this down. So like I already shared, here's our prompt for our narrative essay that you guys will be writing. Write a narrative about a character who goes exploring and discovers a new land. So we saw in Carolina's, her character was Eduardo the Explorer, and it talked about his adventure out on the ship. And he didn't quite reach the new land, but your narrative, as long as you have a character who goes exploring and discovers a new land, that's all that the prompt asks. So here is Carolina's brainstorm. So she had Carolina's narrative, and she had lots of different ideas. She said travel to the rainforest, travel to Antarctica, travel to the desert, travel to a cave, travel to an unknown island using a map, but Eduardo falls asleep and loses sight. So this is the idea she actually went with for her narrative. Travel to the Great Barrier Reef. So she had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ideas. This was her brainstorm to get her started. You guys, here's the brainstorm you'll be completing. So again, here's your brainstorm, your prompt, and I've made an outline of a brainstorm for you. So narrative essay ideas. So in these ideas, talk about what's your character name going to be and where do you want that character to travel to, or what do you want the adventure to be like. So for this assignment, you'll need to come in here and you're just going to need to write down 4 ideas that you have. So I'm going to go to this copy of it. And you guys will be able to fill these in. So you just click on the box, click up by the number 1, and you'll be able to write your ideas. For example, if I want my adventure's name to be Tina, maybe that'll be my main character. Tina decides to, and as the text changes, you guys can work with it and scroll it down a little. Idea 1, Tina decides to join the space crew in an adventure to Mars. So that's my first idea. She can be going to space. This doesn't have to be on a boat like Eduardo. It can be any adventure going to a new land. Mars would be considered a new land. That's one of my ideas. Another idea, Tina let's see, where else could she go? After thinking for a bit, Tina decides to take a road trip to New York City. And then I'll go ahead and push that down a bit as it wants to write up. Oh, we forgot the I up there. Oopsies. I've lost it. All right. Anyways, so there is your brainstorm. So I need you to write at least 4 ideas of what you would think you would like to write about for your narrative essay, and that'll be turned in this week. And that's going to be our first step, and that'll be for 2.1. Can't wait to read your guys' ideas of what you want to do for your narrative essay.